Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode... What episode is this? Episode 4 of Anything But Everything. It's the show where I and other people talk about exactly what the title entails. Anything but everything. Today, I have a very special guest, probably one of my oldest friends at the moment, that inspired me to make this podcast in the first place. It is Roxy. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello. How's it feel
Hello,
to have
anything but everything, people.
How's it feel to have your dreams finally come true? You're on a podcast, just like you wanted.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm starstruck.
Well, this time you're the star. It's so crazy. Let's see. Oh, I almost forgot. We usually start with the forced trend that I do at the start of every episode. Let's see. It's celebrity birthdays that are on the day of the recording. Let's see. Today is the 27th, August 27th, 2023.
How about celebrity deaths?
Celebrity
Because
deaths?
Arlene Sorkin just fucking died.
Oh, yeah. That's true. We could do both.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arlene Sorkin. She voice acted Harley Quinn, right?
Yeah, she's the first voice actor for Harley Quinn.
Wow.
And not that long ago, that was Kevin Conroy passed too. So a lot of the big names from the animated series are gone. So sad.
I will be so sad when Mark Hamill inevitably passes.
Yeah. Unless he becomes a Force Ghost or some shit.
Force Ghost, and then he
But
tweens
then
across
he'd
the
have to
screen
be,
in space.
Yeah. He'd be forced to live as the, fucking shitty, Abrams version of Luke that he hates, though.
I honestly cannot believe that in, what was it, episode 8? They made Carrie Fisher just, float across the screen as an actual, corpse. What the fuck was that?
I honestly do not care about any of the individual bad shit in the new Star Wars movies. I think they were fundamentally broken from the start because of how fucking shit the world building was. Where they refused to do anything original and just tried to rehash everything.
Mm-hmm.
They played it so safe. They basically redid it. They redid the entire plot, the entire setup. They just renamed the Rebels, renamed the Empire. Had the exact same dynamic, which is so boring compared to Legends because there's a lot of nuance and complexity with the Imperial warlords and the New Republic, and that created a totally different setting. But then they just make it we're a small resistance group fighting against the overwhelming might of an empire. We're both smaller, but it doesn't really matter because we still have big fuck-off ships that are even bigger than the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And
The Force Awakens, that was the most well-received movie, and it's literally just a remake of A New Hope, pretty much.
yeah, it did feel kind of samey when I was watching.
So the second they had to start being a little bit original, it all went to shit. I actually prefer Last Jedi because it's the most different of the new movies, but I can't understand how lacking in creativity you have to be to not even try to make anything new.
Yeah, I mean
that's why people like the Clone Wars. The prequels were not originally well received, but now people love that era. It's my favorite era. It's a lot of people's favorite era.
Yeah,
because the setting was good.
In a world when your story takes place in space, unoriginality is almost an impossibility when it comes to space, because you could just... every planet could be, completely different from each planet. The fact that it would be oh, wait, no, they all just happen to... There's more Jedi over here.
Yeah. What I learned, and what other people should learn, is stop looking at fucking Star Wars because it's garbage sci-fi. I love Star Wars, but it is not really sci-fi. You want something fucking good in space? Go watch fucking Star Trek. That's where it's really at. I've been really into it. I've never seen a world more well constructed, well thought out, and a show be so much more important than what it is. Because most media, even when I really like it, I like RWBY, right? I love it. Wow, it's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still just a fucking cartoon, right? It's not like a big thing that we need. We don't need RWBY. RWBY's fun, nice to have, but it's not needed.
We don't need cartoons. They're for babies.
Whereas Star Trek has inspired so much real good and so much real technological progress.
Wait, really?
And yeah, like Martin Luther King's favorite show was Star Trek. And if you watch interviews with Nichelle Nichols or George Takei, they talk about how important seeing like Sulu and Uhura, their characters on Star Trek, how important that was for like the civil rights movement and just to be accepted, and it inspired people to go into the sciences and engineering, and it's inspired me to do a lot more good. It's genuinely really fucking important as a show. Also, the warp drive that they use in the show, that inspired real actual PhD research into the possibility of warp drives. The Alcubierre drive, which is still the baseline template for the idea of subspace faster than light travel, like distorting space-time. That was inspired by Star Trek. It wasn't like Star Trek looked at the research and took it for their show. They came up with the thing, and then actual scientists were like, okay, could we actually do that? Let's look into it.
That's crazy.
And of course, all the electronics and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But the world is amazing. It's really funny because I've really been in a sci-fi forever, and I've been writing up my own world building for sci-fi. I like really detailed, in-depth world building with, accurate geopolitics and lots of different forces throughout the galaxy, multipolarity, technological progression, history, and cultural world building. Just really, really smart shit.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've been building that, and I've been coming up with ideas that I think were cool, like, oh, what if the dinosaurs developed sapience? It's actually from a thought experiment called the Silurian hypothesis. It's a real, actual scientific thought experiment. Is how do we know that we're not the first intelligent species to arise on Earth? What could we look at in Earth's past to find out if there was another technological or sapient species?
Mm-hmm.
But I said, oh, wouldn't it be cool if dinosaurs did that and they left Earth to escape the the fucking Cretaceous extinction event? And we're super advanced, Alamau, dinosaurs, and they don't even remember that they came from Earth. And then they meet humans, and then they're kind of angry at first, but then they develop. They realize they come from the same fucking home, and they develop this kinship, and it's this beautiful, amazing sci-fi concept. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad I came up with that. And I start watching Star Trek, and I'm like, what the fuck? They already did that.
Hey,
and then it keeps happening.
Hey viewer, if you're wondering, this is exactly why I wanted Roxy to be on the podcast, because she is good at filling time. The last 3 episodes I've done so far have just been there's been so much awkward silence that I've had to edit out. But
oh god,
I know it's so bad. Okay, we're almost 10 minutes in, and I have let me finish. Let me do celebrity birthdays.
Oh yeah, right.
All right, the show. Let's see. Who is today? Lyndon B. Johnson.
Star Trek Day. Lyndon B. Johnson. I like how that's a celebrity birthday. I just consider that a politician's birthday. But
that's
sure.
True. Yeah, I don't know. It's just famousbirthdays.com. Let's see. Who else is here? A whole bunch of YouTubers and TikTokers I don't know. Aaron Paul. Aaron Paul's birthday is today.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
Paul Rubens, too? Oh, man. That's, Breaking Bad is such a good show. It's one of the few shows where, I had the same feeling as I did when I went to Disneyland. Like I was last summer, I went to Disneyland. I was like, okay, people hype this up all the time. It can't be as good as people are hyping it up to be. But like, I mean, obviously, I wasn't like a child when I went there, so it wasn't like actually magical. But I understood. I understand the hype, and it was the same with Breaking Bad. It was like, no way this show's as good as people saying it is. And then I was like, oh my god, which of my friends haven't seen Breaking Bad? I need to watch it with them.
Yeah, Breaking Bad's really good, and Better Call Saul.
I gotta finish Better Call Saul. I was watching season 5, but let's say life stuff happened, and I have not been rendered able to watch it because I was watching it with someone, and not anymore.
That fucking happens, man. Trying to watch stuff. I mean, yeah, like, to bring up fucking Star Trek again, been trying to watch that shit, but yeah.
This episode of Anything But Everything has been sponsored by Star Trek. I'm so disconnected from Star Trek because my dad was like a Star Wars guy, and even then he wasn't even that into Star Wars. He just like he liked lightsabers.
Star Wars fucking sucks compared to Star Trek, man. It's so like the most fair thing I can say about Star Wars is it's not even sci-fi. It's literally it's more like it's science fantasy. It's like it's good for that, but it's terrible at sci-fi. Like there's absolutely not interested in exploring like anything interesting or philosophical about like any of that shit.
I can't wait for there to be comments from like 300-pound neckbeards that never even watch my show. They're like, "What do you mean? That's just not true. There's so much complexity to the series."
Honestly, no. Like 300-pound neckbeards know this already. So I don't think you're gonna get it. You're mostly just gonna get it from like kids who haven't really don't really care about any of that stuff and just kind of think clones are cool.
Like Gino.
Which I am that, by the way. My username is fucking Art Commander because I made it when I was like 9. I fucking love the Art Commanders. I'm gonna try to connect Star Wars to something you like.
Okay.
Don't think I hate Star Wars. It's just one of those things where like you like a thing, but compared to another thing, it looks like dog shit. But on its own, it's fine. Yeah, that's like what I like with Star Wars. And honestly, it's not really fair to compare them because there's literally nothing in common except the fact that they're in space, which to our minds makes them like more related than they are. But really, it's like saying Breaking Bad and fucking I don't know, Full House are the same kind of show because they both take place on Earth. It doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah,
but shit, what was I saying?
I don't know.
Yeah. My favorite Star Wars video of all time is still the 2003 Genndy Tartakovsky miniseries, the Clone Wars. That shit is so fucking good. Because that is just pure Star Wars. It doesn't fuck around. It doesn't try to be anything else. It is literally just awesome fighting in space and with like Gendy's beautiful animation.
Yeah. I mean, anything by Tartakovsky is gonna be a banger.
Yeah. It's so fucking good. And that reminds me of the fucking, what was it called? What is it, Unicorn Warriors?
Unicorn?
The new show is... Yeah, I forget what it is. But that was pretty good. I really like the Victorian steampunky
Unicorn Warriors Eternal.
Episode. Yep.
I love the steampunk like bike that the girl rides. That guy's cool.
Yeah, for my money, like every time I'm talking with like these fucking like babies all around us, right, and our like community, like our like extended mutual circle, I'm like, all right, guys, favorite Cartoon Network show, and they're like, oh, I like Adventure Time, and oh, I like Gumball, and all this shit, and I'm just like,
Adventure Time's kind of got it's pretty lore heavy. Adventure Time. At least later
I'm not saying those shows are bad. I'm not saying that those are both great shows, right? Cartoon Network is honestly my favorite of the 3 big like American like children's cartoon producer like studio like networks, right? Cartoon Network is my favorite, so I think their shit's amazing. But to me, like it's all the best show is always like a Tartakovsky show. He's always the best. He is the one that like I think it like elevates it past just kind of like children's comedy cartoon, which is still like good. I like a lot of children's comedy cartoons, but his shit is like fucking true fucking art.
Did he have anything on Nickelodeon?
I don't think so. He had Dexter's Lab. He had Clone Wars 2003, which I think is like some of the best animation that network has ever produced. Still,
And he
like
had,
even more than he had Samurai Jack.
yeah,
He
that's what I was
had
about to say.
Symbionic Titan.
That one got canceled after like what, like 2 episodes? I forget how
Yeah, that
short-lived that
sucks.
one was.
It was pretty cool though.
Nickelodeon, Gennady. How do you spell his name? Tarakovsky. There we go. Did he have anything?
I know you say
on-
it like Gendy Tartakovsky, but
Oh, do you? I had no idea.
I believe so.
That's why I was saying
I feel like he
Tarakovsky,
has
so I
a
could avoid
very-
saying his name.
Yeah, it's almost like So I used to think it was like Gennady, but it's Gendy.
Mm. Did he really-
There's what I'm missing. Also, he had the most like insane. One thing I like to show people with like the amount of shit he puts on there. He put that fucking booty quake it dance on like
Oh.
the Kids Network.
Oh yeah.
See,
Wait,
that's, like,
he
the
made
opposite
Hotel
of, like-
Transylvania? What the fuck?
Yeah,
I had
that's one of the weirdest things.
I
that
had
he's
no
done.
idea.
I forget he does that.
What the hell?
Yeah.
That's absurd.
I don't think it's as like much of an auteur project of his as like his other things, but he's definitely involved with it a lot, which is pretty funny to me.
He was a storyboard artist on Cow and Chicken. Wait, was that Cartoon Network too? Yeah, it was. Damn it! He doesn't have anything on Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah,
crazy.
he's always been a Cartoon Network guy. I feel like there's one major Gendy show. Oh, Primal. I
Yeah.
don't think I mentioned that. Primal's really good too.
I gotta watch that one. That one's always interested me.
Yeah. I always for me there's always been no contest on what the best Cartoon Network thing is. It's always just been his stuff.
It's Chowder. Yeah,
Chowder.
Chowder. No
you
contest.
take the moon, then you take the sun.
I love Chowder. It's so
Chowder's pretty good.
Chowder molded me into the person I am today.
I don't know about you, but I find that like little like kiddie comedy shows like funnier as I get older, and not like the reverse of I guess what you'd expect. Like as a kid, I honestly don't find any of that shit really funny at all. But now it's like goddamn hilarious.
Like, when I was a
kid,
shit like Invader Zim just creeped me out. But now as I'm older, I'm like, wait, I actually like
Invader
hearing
Zim.
Richard Horvitz just scream into a microphone for 20 minutes.
Yeah, now Invader Zim, that's my favorite Nick thing. Oh, speaking of Nick, did you see the fucking that stupid ass game, like platform fighter
Nick
game?
All-Star Brawl 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks awesome. It's crazy that they're actually able to make the game they want to because Nick
I heard
gave them
the
a budget.
first one was dog shit.
It was
I heard
really
the first one was
rough.
dog shit.
It
I wish
had
they just gave them the money the first time.
for real.
well.
I mean, I'm kind of glad that they like were able to like get all the shitty stuff out before they made the actual game they wanted. Because to me, it kind of feels like, okay, these games are almost the exact same. So I feel like just the first one is like a demo. Like Nick is like, okay, we'll give you a little bit of
Yeah,
money.
I know.
Make like something shitty, and then if it shows promise, we'll give you more money.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Like for just the development of the game in house. I do feel bad for the people who bought that, and it's like, wow, this sucks. And then
Oh,
like
yeah.
the second one's like, oh, okay, there's the thing I should have bought.
Exactly. And the new game is like crazy. You can tell it was made by people that like actually give a fuck about traditional fighting games. Like there's like an actual meter for like supers
Yeah,
and
I
like
heard
Guilty
the,
Gear Roman
I-
cancels. It's crazy.
Yeah, I heard I don't really know much about fighting game shit, but from people who know that stuff and I've talked to, because when they'd stream it, I'd be like, oh, that's Lucy Loud or that's Invader Zim. Like, oh, do you want me to tell you about like the history of all these like tantalizingly animated like iconic Nicktoons characters? And they're like, no, I just only care about the fighting game.
I mean, that's
And I'm like, okay,
that's the same
you
with
suck,
Smash
but
Brothers
sure.
because it's like it's like, oh, Captain Falcon. You want me to tell you about the game he's from? It's like, what do you mean he's from Smash Brothers? When was the last game Captain
yeah.
Falcon was in?
Yeah, at least with that, it's like fucking something from like forever ago, right? And it's at least the same medium.
That's
but with
true.
that one, it's like, I don't care. It's a kiddie cartoon.
Yeah,
Okay.
I hate the mindset of like, oh, it's just a baby thing. It's a cartoon for babies.
Yeah.
Because like then you see shit like Primal. It's like, would you show that to your toddler? I wouldn't show that to my toddler.
I definitely wouldn't show the shake it, bake it, booty quake it thing to my toddler. That is like the most unabashedly horny thing that I've seen. There's probably something worse. Like I'm sure somebody. I'm not being definitive. I want someone to prove me wrong. What is hornier than that? Because
Like,
to
there
me,
was-
that's the horniest thing I've ever seen.
I always hear people talk about that clip, and I'm like, oh, it can't be that bad. And then as I was watching it, my jaw just dropped. Oh my
Dude,
god, she just shakes
the fact-
ass.
If her twerking is one thing, it's the fact she lifts her fucking bell bottoms up to show her ankle, and also the fact that she loosens a strap on her top.
Yeah, I thought
That's
I
the
thought
most-
they were like, I thought when the person that told me that was describing it to me, I thought they were just fucking with me. But I saw it now. It's just baffling.
Yeah,
It's just,
shake it, bake it, booty quake it, roll it around.
and that's that being the song, that was the final piece on top that just made it all fall apart for me.
Good fucking job, though. Oh, I've been having. Okay, this might start a fucking argument, but speaking of like cartoon shit, I've had people. Yeah. Okay. So there's like this fan animation, right? That used Scooby Doo cast or whatever, and they used an AI voice for Daphne.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like some stupid shit, like some crossover, like with Five Nights. I don't give
Yeah,
a
it
shit
was
about the
just-
content.
Yeah.
But I have been vehemently defending the fucking right because Grey Griffin, the voice actor, you know,
Mhm.
formerly Dre Azula, that bitch, they've like had this massive campaign to shit on this poor fucking guy for using like an AI voice.
Uh-huh.
And to me, it's not really. It's not. I don't think that's special at all. In the same way that, because my argument is that what an AI voice is you're taking existing media clips, in this case audio files, and you know, like in Gmod, like really old Gmod videos where they'd make the TF2 characters say shit, but they would like edit out the specific vowels and like consonants.
Yeah, you're
from
just,
and
yeah,
syllables?
sentence mixing.
It's that, but really fucking like advanced to where it actually sounds like real speech.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly the same fucking thing. I think you have just as much of a legal right to it as fucking doing that, right? And nobody bitches about that. No one cares when there's probably a bunch of YouTube poops of people doing that with Daphne already. But yeah,
I always saw it as the guy that made that Scooby Doo animation. He was just doing it for a goof. Like he wasn't getting paid. It was just like a 10-minute meme. So I feel like even if you're like 100% against AI shit, the fact that he was just doing it for free, making a little joke, is fine. Because people will do like those like covers of songs with like random characters using AI. Nobody gives a shit about those. But the second this guy makes an animation, that's when people get all anal about it. But the thing
Yeah.
you said about like it being just like next gen sentence mixing, I've never thought about it like that.
it literally is. I think legally, if it went to court, that's how it would be defended. Depending on where the judge would go, because
Your
you
Honor-
have a right.
Your Honor, have you heard of YouTube poops?
Yeah, I know, right?
What the hell?
You have a right to take like, because because this is the thing. People were arguing about like her fundamental right to her voice, like as a body right. And I'm like, yeah, she has a right to her vocal cords, but she doesn't have a right to the sound waves the vocal cords generated and were captured like 20 years ago and mixed and like edited it around. Because they literally use those voice clips, they put them in little Daphne dolls, and she's like, oh, gang, we have a mystery to solve. Like, that's also taking her voice. I don't think there's any precedent for that. He's taking
Sorry.
voice clips.
Sorry, it's just the first part killed me. It was such like an Ursula
Yeah.
line. It's like, you don't have a right to your vocal cords. Your
Yeah,
sound
yeah.
waves. Give them to me.
It's but I was having like full on fucking arguments about that, but that's pretty funny.
And now they have been rekindled in my comment section.
I hope so. Yeah, but if you it's funny because I'm like literally my main study is art history, I love art. I don't think AI will replace art, but I am also a vehement defender of the use of AI within art. I
Yeah.
think people get way too fucking like scared about it. Okay, this is the opinion I have that pisses people off, so it's perfect for your podcast.
Okay.
All right, so
'Cause that's what my podcast does. It pisses people off.
yeah, I have no fear. Every good podcast should. Just heads up. I have no fear. I have no fear about AI replacing artists at all, because art is primarily a communicative like thing. It's
Yeah.
something where it's an exploration of ideas, right? Put into this context of art. Yada yada yada. Everyone knows that shit.
Yeah.
The AI can't communicate anything. Like when people's like, "Wow, look at this AI that made a whole comic." It's like, yeah, it looks like a comic. The drawings are good. You can't tell an AI made it, but it's like completely nonsensically laid out. Like it doesn't have a story. It doesn't have a point. It's nothing to say.
I've always described like AI art stuff as if like it's like if my dad was looking at a drawing I made with his glasses off. Like it's like if your eyes are blurred, you wouldn't be able to tell. You'd be like, "Oh, that's good." But then the second you put on your glasses, you're like, "Wait, that doesn't make any sense."
Well, yeah, to me, it's not like I'm not talking about like, oh, it can't do hands right. It's gonna be able to do hands right in the future. It's gonna be able to make a one-to-one perfect, like you cannot tell the difference. Mm-hmm. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying like with Jackson Pollock, the guy who does like all the splatter paintings, right? People are always like, "Oh my god, how is that like so famous? How is that so like revered? I could do this. It's literally just a guy tossing paint." But every single time people try to do random fucking paint splotches, or like Mark Rothko, the guy who just kind of his art is just kind of like a few colors and like rectangles. It's nobody can recreate it and get the same amount of praise. It's never ever happened, and it won't happen with AI, especially with something like an actual story, because there was like poignancy and meaning and technique to how they did all that shit. Art isn't like a thing where it's like, okay, let's perfectly recreate all the pixels and it'll be just as good. It has to mean something. Like there's already people who can draw like photorealism. But like people don't see that as like the highest best form of art, or people who can recreate other people's art styles. They don't see it as just as good as the original. There's a message to their art. There's a point that the AI will never be able to replicate because it can't do that shit.
That makes me wonder. Like you're the art history nut. I wonder when the photographic camera was invented, were there any people that were like,
that's what
were there any people that are like,
hey,
what's the point of drawing anymore? We can just take pictures of people instantly. Like what's the point?
Hey, I'm actually really proud of you, because I was just about to talk about that. That is actually the precedent that I was going to bring up for when this happened before in art history.
Oh my god, guys, she's proud of me.
When photography was invented, along with other things, including the import of Japanese woodblocks, because Japan had just opened up its borders at the time. I won't get into the whole background of that, but
you will eventually.
But basically, this is the advent of what we would call modernism. So the 19th century, the late 19th century, with like Van Gogh and the post-impressionists and the impressionists before him, basically all of those guys, they led the way in Western art for modernism, which is a really like important concept, because it's kind of been the main defining art that has the art philosophy that has existed for like the past century. Obviously, we have postmodernism now, but I'll just keep it focused. One of the main things modernism said was like, art doesn't have to be representational, because before art was thought of a window as a window into a scene. Like if it's a portrait, it's supposed to capture that person, right? Like it's supposed to be almost as good as looking at them with your own eyes. Or if they drew a historical scene, like, oh, this is the Last Supper, or this is like the Peninsular War and like Napoleon's times or whatever. It was supposed to be like a window, like you're supposed to be looking at it, and it's just as good as looking at it with your own eyes. But what photography said, when photography was made, people were like, oh, well, shit, What's the point of doing a portrait, of getting a portrait, when I can just take a picture and that's way better than any painting? You know, photography, that's way better at capturing reality. We don't need you crummy artists anymore, lol. Like, get fucked, like dumbasses. But that's not what happened.
Yeah.
This is what ties into the woodblocks, because in Japan they actually were always painting like not to represent reality but to represent like emotion, to put messages, to like to depict how something feels. Like, just that idea was revolutionary in Western art, that we're going to paint a valley or something, or my view outside my window, and it's not going to be, oh, that looks just like the view. It's going to be, this is how the view makes me feel, and we're going to use abstract colors. And how this is summed up is they realized art could just be surface. It could just be the paint. It could just be art for art's sake. It's not a window. It can just be itself. There's lots of development on that as well when you get into postmodernism.
So basically, like, AI art is just surface level, whereas human art actually, there's like stuff behind it.
No. When I say surface, I don't mean surface level. I mean, like, a Jackson Pollock painting is just the surface. It's not a window into a land of paint splotches, right? That's not what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to depict anything real. Just as when you draw a cartoon, that's not depicting a real thing. You're depicting the essence of the thing.
Yeah.
I forget the cartoonist who said it, but he said, like, the point of animation is to distill things down to their essence. And obviously, when you draw your Amigos cartoon character, that isn't supposed to literally look like you in real life, right? It's supposed to give the. It's supposed to be yeah, totally. It's supposed to be like an essence of you, like, a caricature of you. It's not actually supposed to be realistically depict you.
I'm definitely not getting cube head surgery next week.
Yeah. You understand the difference between, like, when I say surface, the canvas is the surface versus the canvas is a window?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, like, if I did two portraits and one was the window, it would be like, oh, I'm looking at the real guy. If it was the surface, it'd be like, wow, I'm looking at like an abstract metaphorical representation of the guy. Damn. But yeah, so that's modernism. And photography didn't extinguish traditional art. It actually liberated it. It helped, along with other things. Modernism developed out of a lot of things. I've only mentioned two things: woodblocks and photography. But it let artists realize, like, actually, we can just draw whatever the fuck we want. We don't have to draw real life. We can draw crazy goddamn shit. We can, like, take drugs and draw stuff. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a realistic depiction. One of the things, like, Van Gogh, Van Gogh.
Yeah.
Him and Paul Gauguin, another famous, contemporary of his. One of the things he encouraged Van Gogh to do is you don't have to always draw like a landscape. You don't always have to, because he liked to paint à plein air, which means he liked to look at like a thing and then like draw the thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he would go out to like a forest and he'd draw the forest. He couldn't like draw things from his imagination, whereas Gauguin always encouraged him, like, you got to do it from your imagination. And his most famous painting, like Starry Night, you see, obviously, his view probably didn't actually look like Starry Night, but it felt like it, right? And that's what he was trying to represent, the swirling star. You know what Starry? Everyone should.
Yeah.
I hope everyone knows what that looks like.
That's what the sky actually looked like. That's what the sky actually looked like in his time. It's just carbon emissions have fucked up the swirls.
Okay, and I'm bringing this all the way back to the thing that'll piss people off, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the AI art is kind of doing a similar thing, where it is taking a part of art that is not that, like, out of human control. And by the way, people still do photorealistic like AI, like not AI portraits. People still like that stuff. That stuff hasn't gone extinct. Obviously, we just don't ever, like, if I want to take a selfie, I'm going to take a selfie. I'm not going to be like, hello, can you draw me photorealistic, please? And then stand there for like 8 hours, right?
Yeah.
But what AI will not replace is that high concept art. And it ties also into the idea that art is somehow like the more effort you put into it, or the more work, or the more technical skill you put into it, the more meaningful it is, which is not at all how it fucking works at all. That would mean the more money a studio puts into something, that means the better the movie is, right? That's not how it works. Some of my favorite art, I won't get too into the deep meaning of it, but I would encourage whoever's listening to do. There's these there's this piece that is literally just a pile of candy, and that's all it is, and it weighs like the amount of like an adult human male. That literally took like basically no effort. Like in terms of creating the piece, right? It's just, okay, I toss this weight of candy on the floor. I could make that, right? I could make that, but I couldn't make the Mona Lisa. But it is insanely profound and a really famous piece of like postmodern art. Let me just get the exact name of it for people. It has a really beautiful, poignant meaning, by the way. Oh yeah, it's called the Untitled, which a lot of these things are called that.
Awesome. Let me get the exact title.
Colloquially known as Portrait of Ross in L.A., is a work of art by Felix Gonzalez Torres. I guess I can really sum up why it's so like beautiful as a piece of art. Basically, you're encouraged to take from the pile of candy until eventually the candy is all gone, and then that's the end of the exhibit. It's deliberately meant to be kind of a background thing. Like some people, like they don't even think about it. It's like, oh, that's goofy. This museum of art has a random pile of candy, and I can take some candy. Sure, don't mind if I do. And they don't even think about it at all. It's supposed to. It was the same weight, the same general weight as like their partner who died from AIDS, and they would later die from like HIV/AIDS as well. And the gradual picking away until it gets, evaporated, until it's gone, is supposed to represent the lack of care and the invisibility to the general public that largely ignored the HIV/AIDS epidemic that like massacred tons of fucking gay men mostly. Achillean would be the proper term, but yeah. And I think that's like beautiful and poignant and like remarkable. So much more than like, guy draws photorealistic Ferrari on MS Paint. Like that's cool too. Like no knocking that, but to me that doesn't like ring emotionally as true.
And they always have the MS Paint UI, and it's fucking like, we know you drew it in MS Paint. You don't have to put that there, you fucking pompous dick. Every person that does like MS Paint art is always like, oh look, I drew a little anime girl. It's like, I noticed you left the like the MS Paint palette on the top. It's like, well, people might not believe me. It's like, oh no, we do. You never stop talking about it.
Yeah, and that's what I fucking mean, right? Like, I think that's a good example from, like, what you would get personally, is, like, it took way more work to draw the anime girl in MS Paint, but that doesn't mean it's any more poignant or deep than if you just drew it fucking normally in, like, an actual program.
Yeah.
Like, it's more impressive, like, oh, that's cool, but it doesn't make the actual work itself any deeper. If you showed that same anime girl picture to someone else, it probably wouldn't even matter. Like, it would be completely irrelevant that it was drawn in MS Paint. So there is no one-to-one between effort and like meaning, and that's why AI art taking away the effort to make like a furry commission is not gonna threaten like high concept art. And I'm not saying high concept is in like only art gallery stuff. I just mean like anything that has a message or a story.
Yeah.
But this is the part that pisses people off. I know I kept doing that, but you really need all this context. Is it will put a huge dent into fuckers that are just doing like commissions, especially like porn commissions, like or personas, because that art really is just fucking that really is just like the labor. That really is just like the final image. There's not much meaning to it. Like a lot of the time, it's literally like a concept sketch. It's not supposed to be like a piece you present.
I think
it's just supposed.
I think the angle I can understand that from is when people do like YCH art, like your character here, where it's literally just a template
Yeah.
and then they draw like the furry color palette over it. That I can understand. It's like, okay, yeah, AI might end up doing that because it kind of already is.
Yeah, like if someone literally just wants their OC and they don't want like this like messenger, like they just want a picture of their OC, like that's all it has to be.
Yeah.
AI will replace it. For me personally, I also like, I have like personas and characters and OCs, and I just want to see them brought to life, but I don't want to pay like $70 for a commission. So I'll just get the AI to do it, and I can like perfectly mimic their art style. That is gonna fuck over some people. But even then, those will still exist because there will still be people who pay for originals. There will still be people who pay for originals because even like we can print out like any art at all, but people will still pay extra on like an auction for an actual original piece of that artist or even just a signature. So I don't think that'll even completely erase it. I don't think AI art will completely erase anything. It will just put a damper in like the most like barely art like thing ever, like the thing that is purely just illustrative labor. It'll put a damper in that, but I don't think that's a huge loss, and that's what pisses people off. I prefer the advancement of the technology over like furries making money off of like drawing their like horse dicks or whatever. And I like that shit, but I don't think that needs to be put before the advancement of technology. To be honest, like I hope that's not a hot take, but it is kind of a hot take. I don't think the horse cocks are as important.
You've been,
but yeah.
This has been 44 minutes of you just spewing hot takes. Except for the Gen V
yeah,
stuff.
it's a podcast. It's a podcast.
Well, usually in a podcast there's a little more back and forth. I feel like I've said less than 100 words in the 44 minutes that this has been happening.
I'll let you take over. You want to bring up some topics? You want to add anything to that topic?
Well, my
because I know you do commission art, man.
I do. And I guess you are right about like that. Like, especially recently, I've had to pick up a second job to like save up money to move. So I've kind of had to just start doing commissions that are like, hey, I'll draw you something for like $15, and then people will pay me, and I'll draw the thing and I'll hand it to them. If someone were to ask me the meaning of the commission I drew them, my thought would be, I needed money, and you wanted someone to draw it for them.
My thought would be like, why are you asking for the meaning of a fucking commission? Of like a commission of like some dumbass thing you wanted me to draw.
Yeah.
The only meaning is you wanted to see that thing, but did not have the means to like carry that out yourself. You did not have the means to color in the right pixels to have that.
I was in the Venn diagram of not as expensive as like high-end artists, but also in the same skill range / style that you wanted to see. I was in that very thin bubble of the Venn diagram. That's how I always see it.
And the more unique your art style, the more time it'll take to copy it, and the more in demand it is. I also think that balances it out, right? Because the more in demand you are, the better the AI will be to train to copy your art style. But the more in demand you are, the more people will care to pay for originals. So I don't think it ultimately even fucks them over that much.
Yeah.
I think people need to stop freaking out, and Grey Griffin like doing that like campaign to like bully that fucker for using AI like AI voice is exactly the same thing. Her job is not going to be threatened by fucking an AI voice. You know why? Because the studio would have to pay royalties to the AI program. They would have to pay an audio engineer. They would have to do all of that shit, and it would probably not be much more expensive than paying the actual voice actor who also has the name that people want to see. They're not going to say people aren't going to want to see the AI voice of Grey Griffin in the new Scooby-Doo like show. They're going to want to see Grey Griffin.
Yeah,
this bitch does not need to worry at all. Yeah, that's how you know. It's not going to threaten her job.
That's how you know companies aren't going to do the AI stuff, because then they'll actually have to start paying people money to do their job.
Yeah, I know. They can just pay a fucking actual voice actor. Doesn't matter. People think that companies can just do it for free, but they really can't. Yeah. In a commercial product, you have to pay someone if you're going to use it. Might as well just pay the fucking voice actor that people love and have a personal attachment to. So yeah.
Um.
But I think the stuff's all really interesting.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, you can do the next topic.
Um. Let's see. Let's go back. Let's go back in time about 20. Well, I guess it's now about 30ish minutes into the past, where you were talking about Star Trek. You know, being
Oh.
your favorite thing. Let's talk
Yeah.
about one of my favorite stories. Are you familiar?
Yeah.
You might know.
One Piece?
Correct. You are probably the only guest I've had on so far that doesn't absolutely despise One Piece.
Wait, they all hate One Piece? I thought your friends would like all like One Piece.
Almost all of my friends that I talk to like daily, anytime I talk about One Piece, the only thing they say is mid piece. Like that's it.
Aw, what the fuck?
So many people are like absolutely dejected by the art style alone, and that alone keeps them from like even looking at it. But I feel like
Okay,
if it was like a book, if it was like a light novel, they would read the fuck out of One Piece. But no, it has a unique art style, so
if it had a generic, it's because they can't beat off to the art style. That's literally all they care
I
about.
don't know. I mean, that's the thing. How could like the like one of the biggest gripes I have with One Piece is that most of the female cast is like hypersexualized.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I think that I hypersexualized in a way that comes off as kind of like silly or trashy. To me, I'm not saying I agree. I don't find them that attractive personally, but I think the art style is really cool as like an art style. I'm saying these people are like kumare-cest, so the main art style that will be seen as attractive to the most people is gonna be just the like contemporary like anime like 2010s kind of art style that like
something that
Haruhi started.
something that would come out of like a if you just looked up
Like a
anime big boobs on like an AI generator.
Well,
like
like
nine of
sure,
those would show up.
I find those harder. I find those more attractive than fucking like a lot of One Piece characters. But I think the One Piece art style is actually superior to that shit because it's way more original and unique and expressive.
And like when I
You know?
when I think about like a One Piece, like if I were to think about like okay, think of a hot One Piece character. I don't think of like the actual like character in that art style in my head most of the time because Oda straight up like said like oh the way I draw girls is like I draw two big circles and then an X for the waist. That's how I draw girls faster to keep this going because I've been drawing this shit for 20 years. I usually think of like okay, here's that character but with like proportions that make sense in my head. Because I feel like the only way I'd actually see a One Piece character like being like as they are in the actual story would be if I was looking at them in the story.
Yeah.
Because like in the actual story, some of them do look a little bit wonky. There's some screenshots that are like, ooh, yikes. But yeah.
Off topic, but I've been stimming with my Star Trek phaser the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty cool. Anyway, no, that sucks. I'm sorry.
I mean, if not, like that one is probably like the fact that the art style is weird is like probably the second biggest gripe people have with the series, but the biggest gripe most people have is something I can accept, and that's just like it's just so long, and people are
Yeah.
only, like. The thing that bothers me though is that everyone's always like, "Oh, I just don't have the time. I don't want to be committed to that." But like, people, I mean, obviously it's not the same, but like people commit to learning instruments. Like they're not good right away. In the same way that One Piece isn't good episode 1, but
I think I think it's just a soft way because like obviously everyone has the time, like literally everyone has the time to watch One Piece. It's just that when our free time is limited, you know, that's not like what they want to spend it on because they have
Yeah.
to ration out it. Which sounds more mean. So that's what I tend to think when people are saying that.
I gotcha.
And One Piece does have to take up a lot of blocks of that. Obviously, they have the blocks, but you know.
Like I can understand like if I was never into One Piece like today and someone was like, "Hey, you should watch One Piece." And I was like, "I work from 8 to 3. I have an hour to myself and then I work 4 to 9. And you want me to watch a 1,000 episode show?
You have
You
two
can
jobs.
go yeah, I had to pick one up recently. Because I'm saving up to move out of my parents' house, and wages in Texas are kind of shit. So I have to,
Yeah.
I gotta save up mad money.
I got one job, and I'm like basically doing full time, but I also do like union stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I think that's really important and good.
Question.
So I don't really have a problem doing that. What?
Is R2D2 in the room with you?
No, that's my that's my Star Trek custom interface alarm notification sound. That's the classic.
Wow.
That's the original series whistle when they get communication things.
I can see the box rimmed glasses coming down onto your head. Actually, that's the classic series sound.
You say that, but I gotta tell you, Star Trek's got a history of incredibly drippy and sexy fucking uniforms and dresses for the bitches to wear.
Is that right? When I think of Star Trek, I think that's probably the last thing I would think about because most of the time
Well,
when
then
I
you
think
don't know
of
anything about it.
well, exactly, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
because like the only thing I know is from like the Star Wars side where it's like, oh, those are just the fucking dweebs that wear the weird ears and do the thing with their hands where they split the two forefingers in half. It's like those guys are weird. And and
know.
Spock and ah.
Yeah.
I know absolutely
I
nothing
mean,
about Star Trek.
Yeah. No, Star Trek's like always that fucking goddamn babes up the ass, like all the
Babes
time,
up the
constantly.
ass.
It's I mean, like literally, there's like officially licensed collections will be like. They'll be like the women of Star Trek set, and it'll be like all the like badass like female characters and shit. Because Star Trek's actually like pretty good with it. It's not a full on like feminist thing. In the earlier stuff, there's a lot of weird fucking misogyny. Because even for the most progressive show of the '60s, the only show Martin Luther King would allow to be played in his house was fucking Star Trek. That's how progressive it was for the time. It still is really progressive. It gets just more and more and more progressive. But the early pretty much everything is a little bit misogynistic, which is just kind of what happens. And when you're an art historian, you kind of point it out because the whole point of art history of studying art is you uncover things that we leave into it, kind of like a detective.
Is that true? Martin Luther King only wanted to watch Star Trek?
Yes,
He didn't ever
there's tons of interviews about it.
He didn't ever want to watch SpongeBob or like Steven Universe or something.
Oh, I'm sure he would have loved that shit.
He would have
Too
loved.
bad he fucking died before he got to see Steven Universe. He would have been like, my dream has been achieved with this boy Steven, learning to conquer evil and learn friendship with the gems.
Imagine if Martin Luther King Jr. got the chance to watch My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic.
Yeah, imagine
Yeah,
going
that's
to
funny
his fucking.
stuff.
Imagine going to the grave of one of the most heroic, like, amazing souls of the fucking entire generation and being like, man, you would have loved fucking Loud House. You would have loved it.
Oh man, you would have loved Victor and Valentino, man.
Oh, man.
Oh man, MLK, you would have loved Kick Patowski, dude.
Oh my god. No, but fucking
That's awesome.
fucking hero. All right.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
there's no denying that.
Star Trek is also one of those things where like you know how everyone does Pride merch, but it's all kind of like stupid, cynical, and corporate.
Yeah.
Whereas like Star Trek is like in universe always been about equality and and the ending of bigotry and prejudice. It was supposed to be an optimistic future where we've achieved a society free of money, of class, of war, of where like people are always accepted, and it's all like exactly what we should actually do. And
Yeah.
that's why I like it. It inspires me to fight for that in real life, and that's what the characters in Star Trek represent. But I don't want to take over too much because I'm still trying to give you some time. But that's why like the female characters are like really fucking big and important. And even though it started off kind of shitty, it's made huge steps to increase how women are depicted. It's really fucking funny because there are shows that take place in universe in the same time as the original series, but they're like really progressive with like how the women are depicted. And in the original series, it's like they're all wearing beehive hair and they have skirts like that literally barely hide their ass. Like they literally have to wear skirts and shit just to like not have their fucking like pussies being broadcast on like ABC. Like seriously, it is insane. It's insane how much they've increased. But in universe, it's really funny because it's like when Kirk takes over the Enterprise, suddenly he has like this misogynistic like counter revolution, and all the women are like turned into fucking like Stepford wives. It's so fucking silly. But yeah. When you truly understand how our culture is patriarchal, and you look at media, you see it everywhere. It's just all over. And the smartest things point it out. And I don't think anything is like bad for depicting it. It's just really cool when things escape that. You know what I mean? It's cool. It's good when things are smart. That's my hot take. Good when things are smart.
When things smart, it good.
But yeah, anime, people get so fucking mad. Like, I'd hope people are like a little bit more grown up, but pointing out the depictions of women or anything. It's not just women. It's literally anything. Like I said, art history, you uncover bits about the culture that made an art, because they will leave their ideology, their assumptions, their beliefs, they'll leave it into the art. That's why shit becomes dated in the first place. That's why when you see it's like, oh wow, that would be considered racist today, right? Like when you watch really old stuff. That's exactly what, like, you're being an art historian there by like pointing out, oh, that was reflecting of a less progressive time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's like how, like, it's like when they did the, what was it? Fucking when they released, like old-ass Looney Tunes cartoons, and people were like, hey, you should get rid of the racist bits.
Exactly.
And they're like, no, this is history. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, a lot of time when I say that, people get, like, really mad. I have no idea why.
Yeah, that's really weird.
With that, it's a little bit less, but when I'm like, oh, this like shonen, like basically this is a problem I have with almost all shonen. It's fundamentally it's marketed at like young boys. It's not really for girls, like quote, like, you know?
Yeah.
So women are not gonna be able to do as much. There's this concept called narrative weight. And in most media, women do not carry the main narrative weight. Even in fucking Star Trek, a lot of the time. Narrative weight is mainly carried by men. They make the decisions, they're the leaders, they drive the plot. Yeah, sure, you can have important female characters, but, like, in Naruto, it's all male characters doing, like, all the big shit. That's Naruto and Sasuke and all of that. It's Goku and Vegeta. Like, yeah, you have, like, Bulma, but Bulma is, like, the fate of the universe does not rest on Bulma. Okay?
It was always weird, I haven't seen a single second of Dragon Ball, but it seems like most of the scenes I see of female characters that aren't, like, the blonde-haired girl, they're just, like, doing, like, standard housewife shit.
Yeah, same with like a lot of and it's not that like I hate all of this shit. I like to see media that does depict like women normally, but like I would have to hate like all of media to like if that was what people thought that I was thinking.
No, I got.
There's nothing wrong with uncovering the biases of our culture that we leave in our art.
Yeah.
To prove. Oh, sorry.
Going on to the narrative weight thing real quick. like One Piece is obviously in the same boat. Like obviously, Luffy is like the main character, but like in the actual story, Nami is probably the most important person in the whole crew because she's the one that actually navigates them across the ocean, and she like helps Luffy make decisions on where to go. So even if she's like not actually like super relevant in like the majority of like battle sequences, which is what One Piece is mostly, she's pretty important.
Yeah,
But like
I mean,
not to like
that's
I'm not trying to compare like make it One Piece sound like it's better than the other ones because obviously it has its
it's
they-
probably
they
better
all
than
do it.
a lot of them. It's
Yeah.
probably better than a lot of them.
It definitely has
To
some
me,
of the
the
best.
worst one I've ever seen is My Hero, which sucks because I really like the concept. I like the concept of My Hero more than all the other like popular shonen.
Mm-hmm.
I just like Western superheroes, but with like anime, I thought that's like really cute and interesting and cool.
Yeah.
But like all the female characters do fucking nothing. It's insane
Yeah.
how worthless they all are.
I remember.
They're there to be cute and nothing else. They
Yeah.
absolutely worthless.
I haven't been keeping up with My Hero, but apparently there was like, what's the I don't remember the names. Like the Gravity Girl and the girl with like the knives. Apparently they had like a gay moment.
Uraraka and Toga.
Yeah, did they?
Yeah, a gay moment that probably was baited and didn't actually go anywhere.
Yeah, you're probably right, but I don't know. I didn't see it.
Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll pick it up. Someone tell me.
Yeah.
The My Hero historian watching. Yeah.
There's like a 300-pound neckbeard for every different thing we've spoken about, and they're all like with bated breath, just like hovering over their keyboards. But
Yeah, I'm a 45 kilogram fucking Stacy. So for
hang
Star
on, I
Trek.
have
So
to
yeah.
look up 45 kg to LBS because I'm in. Oh, you're not even 100 pounds.
Yep.
Holy mackerel! You are itty bitty.
I am.
How much am I in kilograms?
I think I'm pretty much like on like just under 100. So yeah.
Yeah, you're exact. I think you're like exactly 99 pounds. I am 99.7 kilograms.
Wow.
Wow. So, however you are in pounds, I am in kilograms. I have learned something that I will like never need to use in real life.
Which ties into the candy art that I talked about, where it is a 79 kilogram pile of candy,
Oh wow!
or 175 pounds.
Wow, it all
My
comes,
my
it all
guy
comes full
my guy
circle.
took a bunch of candy, threw it on the floor, and that's better art than your fucking like MS Paint Ferrari.
Yeah, especially especially since it doesn't have the fucking if someone took a picture of that pile of candy and then put the MS Paint like background on it that shows like the tools and colors, I'd be like, okay, no, fuck your art. No, just no, you're an asshole.
But I drew 175 pounds of candy.
I don't
and,
give a
and MS
fuck.
Paint.
That's like if I drew something in Photoshop and then I took a picture of my window and showed all the tools instead of just showing you the art that I drew. I don't need to see your paintbrushes when you draw shit.
Yeah.
Just show me the art.
Oh my god.
Oh man, yikes. But yeah, One Piece is definitely. I don't want to say it's like objectively better, but I don't know. It's got some pretty good world building.
Yeah.
Definitely better than other stuff I've seen.
For like, I find a lot of like not. It's really broad to say this, but a lot of like popular Japanese media, the world building is atrocious. Like it's so bad they don't even care about it. Like the best world building comes from like Western sci-fi books mostly, and like stuff in that ballpark. Some fantasy stuff too, especially with like magic systems and shit.
Yeah.
But the world building that I think is the most interesting and the most important is the geopolitical world building. That's the stuff that you need to sell the world as like a real place that functions when I'm not looking at it.
And that's kind of like what's interesting. Like that's a lot of what One Piece has been doing recently, because like over the the many years that One Piece has been running, it's slowly becoming more prevalent. It's like, oh yeah, okay, like sure the pirates are like the bad guys, like sure there are bad guy pirates, but the world government that like takes control of the entire world, that's more of a villain than anything else. Like the One Piece spoilers for anyone that gives a fuck, but it's been like 3 years since it was revealed. Like the one of the biggest villains and possibly strongest characters in the entire series is just this big shadowy figure with like these scary ass eyes named Eam, and he sits on this throne in like like it's a place called Mary Joie, which is like a place where all like the bigwigs hang out. They're called Celestial Dragons. They wear like fishbowl helmets on their heads and spacesuits because they don't want to breathe the same air as commoners. But there's this one throne room that like means a whole bunch of shit. Like, oh, no one's gonna sit on this throne because all of the countries make decisions together. And the first time this guy shows up in the story, he just sits on that throne, and the 5 elder stars, which are essentially like the 5 leaders of the world, immediately bow to him and are like, "Hey, who do you want us? What country leader do you want us to assassinate for you, sir?" And it's like, oh, this guy's a real piece of shit. He's got to go down. And even if it's not Luffy, it's like he's like directly a part of that whole story, and everywhere he goes like puts more pieces into the world. It is very entertaining to watch the world build up.
Yeah, and like that's great considering the medium it's in. Because another thing with world building is, it's you can't just fix this by like focusing so much on like exposition and like just pure world building for the sake of it. You have to world build alongside the narrative and characters.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time it's harder for those mediums to do it. It's still possible if you're like really good, fantasy stories like if you've ever read Brandon Sanderson's books, he world builds alongside the characters, and they're still epic, like fighting stories a lot of the time with magic powers. But like for shonen, they don't even try, because most of the shonen artists, they don't have the time or the tact to fucking do that.
Yeah.
So One Piece at least attempting somewhat to do it is fucking great.
To be fair, it has had like almost 25 years now.
Yeah,
he was lucky it caught on, because then he was able to actually like build on his ideas.
I don't mean time in terms of like length of it running. I mean like time between, like time to finish a chapter or whatever.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, because I know some of them are crunched, so like why would they even care to like put this thing in that no one, like a lot of their audience won't even appreciate?
Oh no, Oda's definitely crunched. I worry for that man.
Yeah.
Like obviously Shueisha is just like they're a real piece of shit. Like every single company, every single like mangaka under their iron grip have to make like, so I know some of them, like not all of them are weekly, but like making like a 15-page comic every week, and like that's absurd.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy. To use an example that isn't Star Trek for like really good world building, recently that I've seen is The Expanse, which is like a low tech kind of sci-fi space opera, where it's literally just basically within the confines of our own solar system, and you have very realistic, hypothetical, plausible technologies being used for everything. And one of the coolest things about it is the space battles, because they are like agonizing, like the G-forces that are put on the body. They can't just effortlessly do like insane like figure eights and then like blow up the Death Star like in Star Wars or even in Star Trek. They have to they have to like suffer with these agonizing G-forces. They have to inject themselves with needles to make this like sludge of chemicals and like adrenaline boosting shit to like just survive it. And they have to have these special like crash chairs, and they're very clunky and very clumsy. They have to like turn around really fucking it really without much grace or precision to fight, and it is fucking brutal to watch like those kinds of fights. And they have like fucking really cool like power armor. It's all like hypothetically plausible except for the power source, like the technology they have. And they show it's mostly about a war between Martians and humans, and the Martians are humans. I should say Martians and Earthlings. They've kind of like how America split off from Britain. You know, they rebelled and became their own sovereign entity, and now there's like a civil war,
Yeah.
or not even a civil war, like a revolutionary kind of separatist war. It's really fucking good. There's a lot more to it. That's just the most basic two elements in the universe. There's another thing that I had for my sci-fi thing that they had, and I got so fucking mad because it's even more specific than the dinosaurs, where Mormons go out in big colony world ships to colonize distant parts of space, and then they run into them with their like faster ships, which really fucking sucks because that's exactly the idea I had, and I wanted to fucking die when I found that out. But whatever.
There's nothing more like depressing as like a creative when you feel like you've had an epiphany and you're like, oh my god, why hasn't anyone done this sooner? And then you look it up and it's like, oh wait, this giant like famous story has done it. You were just the last person to watch it.
Sci-fi is the worst thing for that because sci-fi is all about coming up with cool, hopefully philosophically profound, poignant pieces and using technology to explore like the limits of like the human experience and like our destiny and our fate and our history and what everything means. So it's all about making up these really crazy fucking ideas. But sci-fi is so prolific that odds are someone's probably done it. There's probably a whole trope about it. So now you just got to execute it really well.
Yeah.
And that's how you cope with it.
You should make I don't know why you haven't made a sci-fi podcast sooner. That'd be perfect for you.
I fucking love sci-fi. I could talk about like any sci-fi universe too. Star Trek is just like my favorite, but I like a lot of them. And the world building is like unmatched. Like especially with Star Trek, like the Dominion War. Like if you watched a video on it, there's like tons of lore videos on it. It sounds like a real fucking war. There's actual like there's one of the main things a lot of universes don't have that's kind of stupid is there's not really any multipolarity. And it doesn't mean that not having multipolarity is unrealistic. Like during the Cold War in real history, that was a bipolar world where you had two great powers. But even then, you had a ton of smaller powers and you had non-aligned countries. It's usually never black and white. You know what it is? Star Wars. Star Wars is literally always the entire galaxy has two factions fighting each other. That's it.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of like bullshit. It's like in the entire universe, it's like, oh, it's the good versus the bad.
Now you can start to see why Star Trek is great. Star Trek is multipolar with tons of different factions and ideologies, all scheming against each other, and the point of it isn't war either. It's not boring, right? The war is like a bad outcome in the story. Star Trek's more about finding peaceful and diplomatic solutions and making friends instead of enemies.
I mean, I was never like super big on Star Wars to begin with. It's just like, oh hey, the whole family's going to watch Star Wars, and I'm like, okay, this is a good movie to eat popcorn to. Like you'll hear everyone else in the theater cheer, and like it'll spread to you a little bit, and you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, they're excited. But like I was never big on like most like I don't know. It was never really my thing. I don't know why.
I really like Star Wars, but like obviously it is well below like most other like sci-fi stuff. I should really just say stuff in space, but you know, whatever.
Space
really
stuff.
Star Wars is not fucking sci-fi.
They're barely ever in space. It's always some fuck-ass planet.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's not... Yeah, I guess that's a way to put it. I was just saying it doesn't really explore anything philosophical with the tech. It's not about the ethics of the technology or anything like that,
I gotcha.
Or of... Yeah, like...
It's not like, is this... should we really be doing this? I mean, like, they're... Like, maybe they have the reasons. Like, oh, this is the giant laser we're going to use to blow up a planet-sized killing machine. Okay, these are the bad guys.
Yeah, it's very black and white on purpose. But like, Star Trek... when you look at lore videos of the Dominion War, it's like it's like as complicated as real fucking wars. I study like actual history. I study Star Trek history because I'm a turbo fucking nerd. But the fact that it lines up so well is incredible. The geopolitical world building, and it's world building on every aspect, every single piece of technology they have, the diplomatic state of the galaxy, it evolves, and it's really satisfying to see. One of my favorite things about Star Trek is that the universe actually fucking progresses. There's actual weight to each show. Like, oh wow, these characters accomplished this, and it lasts throughout the whole show. You get to see the Klingons become friends with the Federation after like after years of war, and they become permanent friends. They don't end it. It's not a wow for one special event. We're gonna team up with our arch enemies to take down an even bigger bad. It doesn't go back to like a status quo thing, and that's with a lot of other things I like Star Wars or comics. I feel like a lot of people get really bored with that because it never fucking changes. You never see any evolution.
It kind of reminds me
with Star
of...
Wars. They've literally just been fighting. Like two factions will exist at one time. They'll fight forever, and then like that'll be the galaxy for literally hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah,
like that's it.
It kind of reminds me of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like all this talk. Like obviously, like I haven't seen Star Trek, but I know that Avatar is obviously not on that same level. But it definitely feels like out of all like the developed cartoon things, it definitely feels like there's a lot of...
I love Avatar for that.
Oh yeah, me too.
For being a fucking Nicktoon, it has got pretty good world building.
Oh right? Yeah.
As far as Nicktoons go. As far as Nicktoons go, it's maybe the best. Oh, and Rene Auberjonois, I think that's his name. He plays Mr. House. Mr. House. He plays what's his? I forget. The inventor guy in Avatar. He's like a minor character. He makes like flying machines.
Oh wait, that was him?
Yeah, and
I gotta watch that show again.
He plays Odo on Deep Space Nine in Star Trek. So
wow,
absolute Giga Chad of an actor.
I've actually been getting in.
He has such a funny ass voice because everyone just sounds like Mr. House to me, so it makes it like really funny.
I love House MD. I've actually gotten into it pretty recently. He's so...
Oh no,
he's
sorry,
so funny.
I'm talking about Mr. House from New Vegas, not Dr. House.
Oh, damn. I didn't know the actors. What's the guy's name?
I don't even know shit about the Dr. House, to be honest.
It seems like something you'd like. House MD.
I probably would like it.
What's his name? Hugh Laurie. That's his name.
Hugh Laurie, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we got that cleared up. I was like, there's no way fucking Hugh Laurie was in Avatar: The Last Airbender. You're joking.
Yeah, no. But was I? Oh yeah. One of my favorite things with like the Star Trek world building is they'll even have like different species will have like different intimacy, like body language. So like how humans kiss. You know how humans kiss, right? Klingons will do like a completely different thing, and it's so perfectly acted that it's like it hits that perfect mark of like you know exactly what they're doing and you don't know what the fuck they're doing at all. It's an alien way of showing intimacy. It like feels intimate, but in like a strange way. I love that. All of the aliens in Star Trek, the way their cultures are perfectly like is like a perfect narrative contrast to explore like ideas that any good narrative like might want to explore. Like I saw it pointed out recently that like Spock and like other characters, they represent like really beautiful contradictions, like silly and serious and logic and emotion, and it shows like the balance of these things, and seeing it interact with like our familiar human culture and develop understanding and friendships and even like romantic relationships between the two is really, really well thought out, and like feel real for how like limited like the original show. Obviously no budget, like $2 budget, like nothing. like the amount they do with that is amazing. And the new shows are like beautiful. They literally look better than like actual movies. I don't know how the fuck they make the new Star Trek shows look so good, but they look better than like the Hollywood like Star Trek shit that J.J. Abrams made. It's insane how fucking good they are from like a visual standpoint. I highly recommend if people want to get into Star Trek to watch like Strange New Worlds. It's a really good introduction because it's kind of like a almost like a remaster of the very first like one, the original series from the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
But there was another really interesting world building thing that I wanted to talk about, but I'll let you fill it in. No.
I was gonna say I don't want to rush you, but we are 20 minutes over the usual time.
Oh really?
Yeah, I usually
how long are these usually?
I usually only go for an hour. We're almost at an hour and a half now.
I honestly thought it would be like 2 hours. That's kind of when I expected podcasting.
I mean, honestly,
but it's
like,
okay. It's okay.
No, I'm chill with going for an hour and a half. I was just like, I didn't want you to like.
Sure.
I didn't want you to like. I didn't want to have to like cut you off.
No, that's fine. Let's. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up?
I guess I'll have to be more. Next time I have you on, I'll have to be more prepared to fight for audio space. Cause like I had some idea. Like I'm not bashing you or anything. Like this is a very fresh thing to have on the podcast. Like an actual thing that we talk about instead of just like an hour of run-on sentences. Cause like no offense to my other guests like Botan and Jenny, they've been fun to have on. It's just like when it comes to having like a podcast worthy conversation, you know, it feels like it just kind of like falls flat.
I've been trying to add as much to some of like what you. I think a good strategy for this would be to look at something we both like. Because when it's like One Piece, it's just mostly just you. When it's Star Trek, it's mostly just me. So
yeah, that's true. It's been so long since like for context viewers, I think we've been trying to like do a podcast together for like it's been at least a year since the idea was brought up, and we've been trying to like work that out since. But we're both just so fucking busy.
Yeah.
Like I would love to like do more stuff with Roxy again. Like we never finished Doom Eternal. Like that kind of stuff.
True.
It's just like we never have the.
That was like I'll talk, you play.
It really helped when I was playing Doom because like I was like I cannot be funny. I have to beat this one fucking guy. Roxy told me how to beat him 20 times, and my brain is refusing to learn. Just shoot the guy; he will fall over. I just need to be good enough at running away.
Oh my god. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
We got 8 streams in. I felt like we couldn't have had that much left.
It's not the longest game ever, yeah.
Yeah, we'd be able to do it.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Is there anything on the topic since like I've been recently getting into things? Is there anything you've recently gotten into a lot?
Jujutsu Kaisen. I watched it.
Yeah. I just want to say, just real quick.
I know how long real quick is in Roxy time.
Okay, that is specific. That show specifically trying to like not be like every other shonen with its female characters is really cool. Anyway, can keep going.
Yeah, my ex introduced me to Jujutsu Kaisen. And I was like, I thought of it as like the same, like I thought of Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man in the same vein. It was like, oh, it's just like, and actually My Hero Academia too. I kind of lumped them all up with like, oh, those are the new ones that like I don't really have time for because I'm so obsessed with One Piece. I still haven't seen Chainsaw Man. My brother is
Chainsaw Man
is
my favorite. Chainsaw Man's my favorite like popular shonen easily.
Yeah, my brother's actually my little brother. He's going to a convention in October, and he's he made his own like Chainsaw Man like headpiece. I don't know what it's called, but like
that's really cool.
Yeah, the guy.
I'm guessing it's just Denji's chainsaw head.
It looks really good. Like he showed me a picture. I was
that's
like, wow,
impressive.
That looks. Yeah. It really is. But
yeah, I've seen really good versions of that prop. No, I fucking love Chainsaw Man.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I went to Boston Fan Expo over the summer, and there were some really good Chainsaw Man people Like there was one of them like he had a cord on his arm and it would make the chainsaw blade on his head actually move.
Badass.
It was really cool. Meanwhile, I was there as like Teddy from Bob's Burgers. But to be fair, no one else. To be fair, no one else there was Teddy, and I could do the voice.
True, that's part of cosplay. You need to be able to play the character.
Yeah, my older brother was.
That's why it's called play.
Yeah, my older brother was Bob, and my little sister was Louise. But I got like the only compliments out of any one of us because I could actually do the voice and like play the character. It was really fun.
That sounds great. I love cosplaying myself.
Oh, I know. You have like a whole, or I don't know if you're still keeping up with it, but you have like a whole.
I do. I have phasers and petticoats. My fucking fashion/cosplay account on Instagram.
Yeah. Let's see. I think it's about time to close things off. We're at an hour and 29 minutes right now.
Yeah.
So. Before we say goodbye, Roxy, is there anything you wanted to plug?
Well, I can give you the link to my Instagram, which you can put in the description, maybe.
True. What do you do on it?
I do cosplay and fashion and photo editing.
Yeah, that was like a huge part of. I honestly should have started your like this episode with tell us about yourself. Because honestly, like the fashion side of you is such a ginormous like piece of your personality that was just like completely left by the wayside. Like I don't even
honestly, there's so much shit that I could talk about with me that I'm into that it's like it's hard to even sum up. Like I would just be going on and on and on and on.
Honestly,
really.
And for me, I guess there's my Discord server. If you're watching this, you probably already are subscribed. Yeah. I doubt some rando will show up, will watch the 4th episode of a podcast and be like, "Oh yes, this is the one I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna spend an hour and a half while I eat my chili on my lunch break watching this." It's like, surely there's something better you could watch like Markiplier or something. You don't need to watch this. Yeah, so that's all the stuff to plug. I think that's it. So, that's everything.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all very much for watching Anything But Everything. Stay tuned next. Well, you can't stay tuned since it's ending right now. All right, next episode, 2.5 hours of Undertale. Bye!